Apagar esta lámpara. ¿Está aquí? Perfecto.
Aí só o seguinte, a câmera está apontada aqui para a mesa. Eu vou focalizar o pessoal.
Segundo. ¿Ya estamos? Bueno, hemos hecho 3 minutos académicos. Bueno, empezamos entonces. This is an international meeting. We speak in English. I hope no problem. Again, for UPFA and Naea, thank you for inviting me. Professor Aragón, it's a real pleasure to be again with you here. Professor Helena Freitas, again, thanks for being here. And also for our online participants, Professor Alexander Siegmund from Heidelberg University and Professor Hiroyuki Matsuda from Yokohama University. We have a very exciting event today called UNESCO Chairs and Biosphere Reserves, Partnerships for Sustainable Development. It's particularly interesting because we are in an international event on sustainability transformations and social-economical dynamics of Amazonia and of other regions of the world, and with particular emphasis on systemic innovations and blue carbon ecosystems. And I would like to quote here President of Brazil, President Lula, who said all these COPs, all these meetings are taking place somewhere in very nice places, but never in there where we are all talking about. We are talking about tropical forests, we are talking about the Congo forest, Indonesia forest, and Amazonia, so let's meet here. I always found this idea brilliant. I know it's a challenge for organization. I know it's not easy, but we are not here to do easy things. We are here to take up the challenges and to move forward. And this is the very different. If you have a meeting in Sao Paulo or in Rio, where you have everything, all the facilities and all this. So thank you for all of you for coming here, for being here again. And I already mentioned this morning, I'm working here with the region since 1992, quite some time. And so for me, it's really a pleasure and an honor to be back again and to chair this session on UNESCO chairs. And to speak about what these chairs are in a way doing, what is the network, but also some challenges for the region, what can be done here, particularly in Amazonia and Brazil, and also on the blue carbon. Saying working fine? Good. So let's start because time is moving. We have a meeting today from 10 to 13 hours. I will give a brief introduction, not so brief, and then we will have 4 presentations of the UNESCO chair. And I would like to spare some time later for maybe a short discussion. So if you have questions, please take note, but you also can raise hand immediately if you have a problem or an idea, or if you want to clarify something. So let's oh, is this working? Or...
C'est qu'on fait l'eau.
So can we have next slide, please? Yeah, it's okay. Good. So you can see UNESCO chairs and UniTwin networks. Very briefly, this has been launched in 1992 to promote international inter-university cooperation. This is, of course, a UNESCO program. I worked with UNESCO more than 30 years, not really with the UNESCO chairs. I worked in the natural science sector, in the division of ecological and earth sciences, where I also had the honor to chair the program and to be the secretary of the MAP program for the last years. And so we were always very much linked to these UNESCO chairs working with the MAP program. So today we have around 1,000 chairs, 45 networks, and in some more than 100 countries. These chairs, as UNESCO chairs in the university, of course, support the work in education, natural sciences, social sciences, culture and communication, which are the 5 pillars of UNESCO, and to address challenges, contribution to development of societies. So you see, it's a very broad mandate. And this UniTwin network, twinning of universities, of chairs, also try to bring up emerging issues, emerging topics, through the development of international normative instruments. Because in the UN, we're working a lot on policies, on recommendations, on international or global level and on national level. So it's really something where you make a system setting. Of course, bringing together people, what does it mean? Chairs is academia, is the universities, but also bring together civil societies, local communities, policymakers, in a dialogue for project implementation. It's quite complicated because these are all different groups that not very often speak to each other. We're trying to bring them together to speak to each other. So next one, please. So let's start with this chair here at Federal University of Pará. Has been established in 2006 on biodiversity, higher education, sustainable development, natural resources, environmental conservation. Chairholder is Professor Luis Aragón, the present. And you see, has been established in 2006, so has already some time behind. It's a UNESCO chair in South-South cooperation for sustainable development. When this was developed, this South-South cooperation program, it was something very new, something innovative. Now it has become a sort of common ground for research, because what we observed also for example, you want to have good information on the Congo forest, you go either to Brussels or you go to Paris, but you don't go to Kinshasa. And this is something we have to change. It's not when you want to have good information about the Amazon forest, you must go to Sao Paulo. You should have it here. The same is valid for all the other tropical countries. So this South-South cooperation, bringing together these chairs. Next one is the UNESCO Chair in Education Biosphere for Sustainable Societies. The Yokohama National University is a very young one, established in 2022. The professor is, chairholder is Professor Hiroyuki Matsuda, and now in cooperation with Professor Kaoruko Kurata. The topics are really education for sustainable development, biodiversity, sustainable development, and cultural diversity. We have another point now coming in. We had the first one was all the natural part, the social part, and now we have here the cultural part. Next, please. Germany, the UNESCO Chair on Observation and Education of World Heritage, coming from the natural World Heritage part no more, and Biosphere Reserve, at the Heidelberg University of Education. This is a title translated from a German word. Established in 2016. We change again mindset. We are speaking on digital skills, climate, education for sustainable development, environmental conservation, cultural heritage. So you see the natural part, now this very strong cultural part coming in, but a lot, for example, the shareholder is Professor Alexander Siegmund, working on mapping. When you get in Germany, atlas on maps, on paper or online, Alexander is very prominent in that. He has a big institute on mapping, on digitalizing, and so we have this very technical part coming in. Next one. Portugal, UNESCO chair on biodiversity safeguard for sustainable development, shareholder Professor Helena Freitas, here present, established in 2013 on biodiversity, natural resources, sustainable development, environmental conservation, and education for sustainable development. So we are really coming again back to this topic, but a very strong part on education. So you saw this network of these 4 chairs is really bringing together very different aspects with always a certain ground. Next slide, please. Sharing and transferring knowledge, the first point here. We have a lot of research results, but a very common reproach to academia is too much in silos, too much keeping the information, not sharing enough. So this is the network, sharing the information. At one common point also on biosphere reserves, because you can work on a lot of things, particularly here in Amazonia, it's big like a continent, bigger like Europe. So you must a little bit focus also on areas. Human resources exchange program. I think it's very important thing. And we had once a project on Amazonian biosphere reserve in all the Amazonian countries, focusing really a lot of demonstrative actions. What is in which biosphere reserve can be done. Very interesting project. Then of course, training and the education, disseminating of the information of natural and cultural values. Again, we come back to that. Citizen science activities is something that came up a lot in UNESCO in the last years. How you can create societies where really citizenship is an important part, again related to biosphere reserves. Other activities, of course, partnerships with international networks. We said we have 1,000 chairs. It's like a sort of electric plug. When you plug into one, you are connected to all the others if you want so. I think this is the very value of this program. There's, of course, a memorandum of understanding with UNESCO that's valid for 2 years. And for 4 years, I think. It has to be renewed. There's an activity report. There's a very strong monitoring on the chairs, a very strong quality control that has been established. And now concerning this network, has been signed, university signed MOUs with the University of Coimbra, basically in 2023 and 2024. This is how this network works. Next one, please. We had some events. 15 October 2023 at the Coimbra University on the 30 by 30 challenge. I think I don't need to explain this here, what it means and how individual countries can participate, and I come back later to that. In November 2023, we had in Belém this meeting here, a little bit also on the 30 by 30 challenge, but on the South-South cooperation in an international symposium. Third meeting mentioned here is in Yokohama, at Yokohama University, the advisory committee meeting on the evaluation of the UNESCO chair there. This was quite important because in the Japanese way of working, you need for a chair an advisory committee, and the chairholder has to present, and it has to have from his peers some back information, how it's working, it's valid, and so on. Next one, please. And then, of course, this year in Hangzhou, in China, the 5th World Congress on Biosphere Reserves. Many shareholders were, of course, present, and there was an event on the role of Biosphere Reserve for mitigating human-nature conflict. This is one topic very close to the chair in Yokohama, but where all the other chairs participated with their way of working, with their information, because there, of course, we know there are a lot of conflicts between human and nature. Although I believe personally humans are part of nature. There is not nature and us. There is nature and we are part of it. We are maybe a higher category of animals, but at least we are part of it. And how to mitigate this conflict, how to reduce. The whole topic of climate action is, of course, always coming in. And I think it's a very important part of this COP. I mean, COP30 is on climate change. Of course, the intergenerational dialogue between senior experts and students and junior experts to get really the move forward to include all parts of society. So this was one part of this big Congress. This Congress of Biosphere Reserve takes place every 10 years and brings in a new vision and mission of the MAP, the Balance the Biosphere program. I come a little bit later back to it. Next one, please. And then, of course, we have as an event now what we are doing here today and tomorrow. So I just wanted to highlight a little bit that you get an overview what this network is doing. It is an open timed network. This will work as long as the shareholders and the network participants think it's useful. So there is, for the time being, no deadline because it's quite dynamic. It moves forward. And yeah, let's go to the next part when talking about, next slide, please. And blue carbon. What is so important? Why are we talking about climate change? And what happens in the whole climate discussions? Because there are a lot of myths. You see here, of course, I don't know whether this will be working. Okay. Here, the first graph, increase of temperature and of CO2. We know that, nothing new. But maybe for some other people, something is new here, that we have cycles of 100,000 years, natural cycles of increase of CO2 and temperature, and going back, and coming up, and going back. Now we are at the top of one side. You can see it in that way or here in the other way. And of course, human activities is topping it up, putting again something on it. So there's a natural process of climate change. As already Confucius 5,000 years ago said, what is not changing is dead. So change is nothing new and nothing harmful. It's the way how it changes, how strong, how quick, that makes the difference. So, and this is from the ice core data. You know, when they make what they call carrots, when they drill into ice and in the CO2, they can know about the CO2 in air bubbles, the concentration of CO2 in the air, and they, in a way, can reallocate also the temperature. So next slide, please. Because on the discussion of blue carbon, I found this has been done by scientists of Bangladesh, quite important. What is blue carbon? You know all from chemical, from your chemical school classes, the atom of carbon. There is the black carbon that we know.
I apologize. I do not.
As coal, as oil. We know the brown carbon when all the industrial emissions, the biomass, of course. We are here in the forest, in a big forest. We know the green carbon. This is all the plantations, the crop, the terrestrial forest, the pasture. And then we're coming to the blue carbon. This is mainly on the coastline, but there's also the freshwater blue carbon on mangrove, salt marshes, all sorts that is related to coastlines or to river lines or to bogs. Next slide, please. Can you, next slide, please. I'm running up. Yeah, we know this carbon cycles, photosynthesis and respiration. We know also, of course, about the emissions, big discussions, where all this carbon is produced, where it is stored, what happens in this. I will not go too much into that because I think we have no time. Next slide, please. But what for me is, of course, sometimes it's a little bit banal, but how the carbon is fixed by plants. And this is a simple chemical reaction that goes in that direction. If it's fixed, if it's liberating, it goes in the other direction. So, and this I think is quite important to know because some people always say this is something untouchable, unreasonable, the carbon cycle. But no, with the energy that's coming from the sun, with the air where this is available, it's fixed in plants. And I think this is very important. You know all this from your natural science courses, so it's nothing new for you. But next one. And we are here in the Amazon. Does the Amazon produce the oxygen that we breathe? And we have very prominent people like French President Emmanuel Macron, former Vice President Kamala Harris, Leonardo DiCaprio, saying that the Amazon is the lung of the world and producing all the oxygen that we are breathing. I had this even in UNESCO in serious discussions. And sometimes I didn't make friends by saying the Amazon is not producing a single gram of oxygen. Nothing, zero. On the contrary, is releasing a lot of CO2 due to deforestation. So it's many people think this is not true. No, this forest is producing the Amazon, the air that we are breathing. No way. This has been done by producing the fossil fuels, by producing the what they call it here, the legacy of phytoplankton in the ocean, of photosynthesis and storage of CO2 has been done a long time ago. That doesn't mean that the Amazon forest is not important. It's, of course, extremely important for the climate, for the water cycle. And I think some years ago, we published here a book on the water cycle in the Amazon and globally, and the importance of the Amazonian forest of it. It's really important. On the temperature. Cool. But also we must put serious statements. What these very prominent people say is simply not true. And so if somebody says we are cutting the forest, we are cutting the oxygen that we are breathing. No, we are doing damage, but not that one. And I think this is quite important. So this I just wanted quickly to show it to you. Next slide, please. And why is this blue carbon so important? Because here, maybe not easy for you to see, but where is the storage of carbon in terrestrial ecosystems? And when we see tropical forest, we are here. It's not neglectable. No, tropical forest, sorry, we are there. It's not neglectable, but it's of course nothing against wetlands and the whole blue carbon area. So this is an area where really carbon is fixed, where it's disappearing from the atmosphere, disappearing is stored in the soil. This is why these areas are so important. And this is why in this area there is a really carbon sink, whether in tropical forests. Once the forest is standing, there is no sink anymore. This has been done by the trees growing, and then you have a steady state, growing, dying, back and forth. You remember the equation of CO2 fixed and released, fixed and released. Here, in these blue carbon areas is fixed and stored. That's the basic difference. And when you see the amazing part of it, I think it speaks for itself. Next slide, please. I have to go a little bit quicker. Yes. How much blue carbon removes carbon from the atmosphere, and that is very small part of the terrestrial surface, but really moves a 10 times bigger part of CO2 from the atmosphere. Next slide, please. Where are these blue carbon ecosystems? We have here in black the mangroves, in blue the salt marshes, in green the seagrasses, distributed all over the world. We are somewhere here. So we have all of them. The more you go up north and south, the less you have, of course, tropical systems like mangroves. But this doesn't mean that there is no carbon sink over there. Seagrass areas are there and are quite important. Next slide, please. This gives you some figures. How many tons of coal are fixed or equivalent? For example, in 1 hectare of mangroves can fix the equivalent of 726 tons of coal liberated. This is how these ecosystems can really take out this CO2 from the air and from a very long time if it's well conserved. Next slide, please. Of course, we have problems, and we all know this. The annual loss of these seagrass, salt marsh, and macro systems are around 2% per year. So there is not an increase of these areas, but a decrease. And a total loss from, let's say, an original state, what it means, I leave it up to you, is around 20 to 50%, depending where you start your calculation. So I think there is really an urgent need to do something on that. And the work that in the parallel session, the Leibniz Institute with UPFA and all the partners are doing on the protection of this area and on the scientific work is so much important. Next slide, please. Mangroves. Here we have Brazil. And Mexico and other areas. Here in Latin America is, of course, one country with the biggest mangroves areas at all. And I think it is quite important to see how to preserve this, but also how to sustainably use it. Because preserve, it's not like putting a glass cup on it and take it out of any use. There are people living there. And but you can sustainably use it. And this is, I think, very important, this mindset of using it. Next slide, please. Again, COP30, when this has been decided, here the president is hammering on the table, the 30 by 30, oh, thank you. The 30 by 30 presentation, 30% of the total surface of the earth protected, 10% strictly protected. This was a major step forward in the 2022 Biodiversity Conference. Next slide, please. UNESCO is participating in that with this Biosphere Reserve that I told you. This is, of course, now a slide that talks about 2024 to 2025. So now there are 772 Biosphere Reserve in 148 countries. More than 300 million people live in these areas. So it's not a park. It has, next slide, please. It has a core area, which is really like a park. And here we have, for example, a photo of the Mata Atlantica Biosphere Reserve, very protected. It's a small part of this area called Zone, what you see here in light green. Next slide, please. Surrounded by a buffer zone, which is mostly dedicated to conservation but also used. And here you see a very good example of Yellowstone, Teton Biosphere Reserve, where the use is, of course, a traditional use for centuries, but still the focus is on conservation. Next slide, please. And the transition or development area. And here I put on purpose the Mine Biosphere Reserve in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a very small country. I think it's even smaller than the Amapá state, or by far smaller. And here you have an old iron producing faculty that it has been included into this biosphere reserve as a part of the new sustainable use of these areas. So just to focusing how you can change this, how you can move it around to an area that moves into sustainability. Next slide, please. So now we have the right figure, 784 sites in 142 countries. Well, I don't know if you can really see it. It's something like that, distributed all over the world. Yeah, let's go to, we're coming close to the end. Let's go to the next slide. Brazil. Brazil has these biosphere reserves, 7. In Brazil, everything is big. Also all the biosphere reserves. You see here in square kilometers, amazing. Almost 900,000 square kilometers biosphere reserve Mata Atlântica. The smallest one is the Sao Paulo Greenbelt, 21,000 square kilometers. This means that 22.38% of the natural territory is under a form of conservation and sustainable use. Fits exactly into the recommendations of the 30 by 30 challenge, which core area protected, buffer and transition zone, use. And you see the map. It's, of course, mainly the coastal area, and here the central Amazon Biosphere Reserve around Manaus and this area, very much, of course, dedicated to conservation, but also to conservation of cultural values, of indigenous populations, respecting all the traditions. And all this is not a park where you exclude people, it's on the contrary, a protection that includes people. So next slide, please. We're coming now very close to the Marajó Island. And here with Professor Aragón, we are working many, many years with this island. It has 40,100 square kilometers, sort of size of Switzerland, I learned recently. It has only 20,000 inhabitants, although being as big as it is, and you know this better than I. This has all the ingredients to become a biosphere reserve. There is a protected area, but there is a huge, extensive use zone of the buffalo breeding. So it could be part, and with this area and maybe some other small areas, Brazil could fit the 30 by 30 challenge, 30% by 2030. I think it could be a good message to President Lula already that we are here in Belém. And it will not change anything here. The protected areas are there, the use areas are there. It's just a political, let's say, will to go into that direction. So we're coming to the conclusion. Next slide, please. Again, what I just said, 7 biosphere reserves exist, covering more than 22%. With the Marajó area and maybe some other areas in the Amazon, it could easily become 30%, and it would really give also to the world a message. These UN decisions are not something in the clouds. It can be done, this can be achieved. Portugal has it achieved. Other countries like Costa Rica, they are by 50%, Bhutan, they are by 70% protected forest. It's feasible. Next slide, please. Back to UNESCO, and with the geoparks and the natural world heritage sites, There are 2,000 sites worldwide, covering 6% of terrestrial surface. Of course, it's very important that all the countries sign this Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which implements the 30 by 30 challenge. And only with this biosphere reserve, the countries can achieve 50% of this challenge, which is, of course, a big result. The UNESCO chairs, in that sense, are an ideal tool to promoting this idea, to bringing this from academia into the decision makers, but also, and I'm really glad to see so many young people here today, preparing new generations on the university, preparing better biodiversity protection, going out of this mist, all this sort of information that is floating around, and coming back to the very core information, to the very core topic, and how to improve also the livelihood for populations living in and around these areas. Next slide, please. And in this, we are working on a group with these editors here on a publication on blue carbon ecosystems for sustainable development, where we try to summarize this. The first volume came out after a conference in Yokohama on blue carbon mangrove ecosystems and a concept-based approach. And we are very much positive in thinking that out of this meeting, there will be another publication of this series coming out, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, this coming next slide. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. I hope I almost kept the time. Thank you very much for listening to me. So, and in that sense, I think if there is not any burning question, if not, we come later to the possible discussion. Would like to invite Professor Helena Freitas. Okay, good. Okay, then I would like to invite Professor Hiroyuki Matsuda to give his presentation. He is online with us. I think Professor Matsuda is in Ireland. He's from the Yokohama National University, and I introduced you to his chair. So this is the on education in Biosphere Reserve for Sustainable Societies. So now we have to see if we can get him online on board.
Okay, thank you.
There
Can
he
you
is.
listen my voice? No.
Hello.
Hello.
Now we have to get the sound.
Hello. Hello.
Okay. One moment. We are still on the techniques. Yeah. Can you say something that we hear you?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hiroyuki, can you say something?
Hello.
He's speaking. We are not.
Yeah.
Just one moment. Okay. No problem.
And start my video presentation. Hello.
Yeah, can you? Perfect.
I'm sorry. And now I uploaded my presentation file, and please start by host, I think. Please start by host.
Yeah, please, Hiroyuki, it's now your turn.
Yes.
On UNESCO chairs and Biosphere Reserve Partnerships for Sustainable Development.
Yes, I uploaded my presentation file. I uploaded, and host will start. I cannot start by myself.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming now.
urban areas. Therefore, our logo is like this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for introduction. I apologize. I do not join in the Belém and the remote lecture. I'm sorry. Today's my talk PDF presentation file is uploaded in this website. Please get. And in September, in my university, I talked. I have had a lecture of the synergy and trade-off between the nature positive and carbon neutral. I think this is a good topic for the climate change COP30. But today, I talk about the biosphere reserve issues. This is our UNESCO chair's proposal and agreement with the UNESCO. Our mission, the first mission, is to investigate the mutually beneficial relationship between the biosphere reserves and interconnected urban areas. Therefore, our logo is like this: is biosphere reserve and urban side, and also in the marine. Benefiting directly or indirectly from the ecosystem services they provide. And Professor Kagami started a big JST Crest project, and this is an integrative evaluation for carbon and biodiversity in the coupled land-sea system, like this. Yes, I talk explain later. And the next topic of our UNESCO chair is a combination of a carbon credit and payment for ecosystem services. Yes, Yokohama is a famous site of the blue carbon. Yokohama is a big city, but Yokohama's coastal area is some seagrass bed exist, and many citizens willingly pay the blue carbon credit. But I noted this blue carbon credit is much higher, much more expensive than green carbon. But these buyers, credit buyers, willingly pay. Why? I usually consider this is because these buyers not only pay for the carbon credit, but also pay for ecosystem services related to their their life. Therefore, I think this kind of blue carbon offset is not only related to the carbon offset, but also including the payment for ecosystem services and relational values. And Professor Kagami's CREST project is terrestrial green carbon. This is sometimes a big effect on the blue carbon. And therefore, they considered sometimes is some synthesis by the terrestrial forest, but this carbon is not stored in the land. And this is flowed by river through the river, and this carbon is stored in the blue coastal area. In this case, this is green carbon and blue carbon. Such kind of interconnection is very important. And sometimes some nutrient of this terrestrial ecosystem, and also including the urban areas, is some nutrients is flow. And this is effective on the blue carbon. Sometimes positive and sometimes negative. And this big project of Professor Kagami is studied on this positive and negative effect of the terrestrial ecosystem's contribution on the coastal ecosystem, blue carbon. And another is linkage with the Biosphere Reserve network in Japan. We promote the Japanese domestic network of Biosphere Reserves. Therefore, our university and Japanese Biosphere Reserves network is a collaboration. And also some blue carbon wetland day. We have some communicate of blue carbon with UNESCO persons and also Miguel Clüsener-Godt and me. And also, yes, sometimes it's we lecture for the Tadami Biosphere Reserve and such kind of lectures. And also, we gave a lecture on the new candidate of Biosphere Reserve in Japan. Today's main topic is ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. Our good colleague, this member of our UNESCO chair is Professor Ikeguchi. She wrote this textbook of junior high school's geography. And she wrote one section about the South America. I today introduce this textbook. In this textbook, introduces the Amazon River and some cutting down of the forest. How much forest was cut down to build this road in the Amazon area. Yes, but I'm sorry, I have never been to the Amazon. I'm sorry, but Professor Ikeguchi, she visited Amazon last year, I think I heard. And this textbook said in the forest cut down and making this big farm. This is a soybean farm, but according to this diagram, just 20% of this soybean products are used for the food and edible oil. But others, 80% are used in the feed for the domestic animals. Yes, and cutting down of the forest is cutting down is many in that after the 2000. And this is a corporate agriculture. And also, gold mining exists, and illegal logging is another problem, according to this textbook. Yes, such kind of gold mine. This is a copper mine in Chile. Therefore, such kind of mining development and construction of dams is a very big issue. But this textbook introduced the new environmentally friendly initiatives. In Brazil, vehicles powered by biofuels are becoming more common. It looks good, but according to this textbook, however, growing demand for biofuels could lead to the deforestation of rainforest. And not only the soybeans for foods and domestic animals, but also the biofuels. But therefore, the development of production technologies using waste wood to convert it to the biofuels is very important. And also, satellite monitoring. This is to prevent the illegal logging of the rainforest. This satellite monitoring is conducted in Amazon River Basin with cooperation of Japan, this technology. And also, such kind of a new type of agriculture. This is a farming method that cultivates a variety of plants, not instead of the monoculture. And this is ecologically reasonable according to this textbook. And a review of this section, yes, some exercise exists. Yes, well, first step is knowledge. Yes, I tried this quiz, but I'm sorry, my grades are not excellent in comparison with junior high school students. I'm sorry. But next step is ESD, Education for Sustainable Development, is some active learning. Therefore, this considers three persons. soybean farmers and indigenous farmers. This is small scale and farming and traditional methods. And government officials. They are concerned, careful, not only ecosystem conservation, but also the economic development, definitely. And this textbook guided to the students and the first step-by-step consideration. Imagine people, these three types, and using the coordinate axis of economic development and nature conservation, which person his place is where is considered. And using and imagine people in other positions, not only three, but also many other people may exist in South America. And summarize the students' consideration. And what is the current situation regarding the development and rainforest conservation? This is definitely the main issue of the UNESCO's Man and Biosphere program. And after that, in the reflect what you learned in section 5, consider ways to protect rainforest with people from various backgrounds. Yes, protect rainforest and economic development. Therefore, and summarize the students' opinion based on the facts and evidence. This is very important, and yes, make a student idea. A way to protect rainforest is blah blah blah. This is considered by each student. Such kind of education is very important, I think. Yes, today I introduce a case study of our Professor Ikeguchi's idea of and junior high school textbook. Thank you. Okay, I have another 6 minutes. Therefore, I back to the topic of synergy and trade-off between the nature positive and carbon neutral. In the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, there are 5 factors to threat to the biodiversity: habitat change, climate change, and so on. Each biodiversity target is by 2020, the rate of loss of all natural habitats, including forests, is at least halved, and where feasible, brought close to zero. That means, yes, the biodiversity loss will still continue, but the speed is halved. This is the target of 2010. But after that, in the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, this is called nature positive. That means the biodiversity loss will stop and to begin to recover. This is called nature positive. And we now use to predict the future biodiversity status and the IPCC scenarios in the climate change issues. And the main technique is a species distribution model. In this model, survey the extent the actual habitat of each species, and surveyed in the environmental conditions of temperature, precipitation, and land height and land use. And such kind of models, statistical models to apply of each species. After that, under the climate change scenario, temperature and increase and land use change. This is included in the IPCC scenarios. Therefore, we can predict the future the suitable habitat for each species, like this. This prediction technique is very now common. But the future projection is somewhat interesting. This is a 2 Celsius degrees scenario, and this is 3.5 Celsius degrees increase scenario. and habitat loss percentage. According to this article, yes, in the 3 Celsius degrees scenario, big loss of habitat due to the climate change, these red parts. But in the 2 Celsius degree scenario, yes, this impact is much smaller than this scenario. But this yellow means the impact on land use change. Another article is my good colleague is Ohashi-san. She predicted the similar. But in this case is 4 Celsius degrees scenario and 2 degrees scenario. 2 degrees scenario is much smaller impact, but the land use change impact is bigger. But climate change impact is much smaller, and the total impact is smaller. Yes, land use change mitigation measures is sometimes big farming. Yes, according to the junior high school student textbook, and yes, biofuels, make many biofuels. This is a big impact on the biodiversity loss. Therefore, we considered synergy and trade-off between the climate change issues and biodiversity conservation. And mitigation measures, yes, and for example, many dams exist in the Amazon, and also planned dams, many planned dams exist. This I worry about this dam's impact on the Amazon's biodiversity. Yes. One person said, and also in the we also consider the economic cost. This Lombard, and this is a very famous book, this infamous book of this one, and according to him, and yes, in the 4 degrees scenario, yes, no mitigation measures cost, but climate cost is very huge. And according to him, yes, 2 degrees scenario, yes, climate change cost is smaller, much smaller, but mitigation measures cost is very huge. And he concluded the total cost is very huge. But he assumed the economic discount rate is 4% per year. This is a key assumptions. But Lombard assumed the economic discount rate is of 4%. But according to this book, is a TEEP, and this is a very famous book in the 2010s, and there are no purely economic guidelines for choosing a discount rate. Responsibility to the future generation is a matter of ethics, not economics. And a variety of a discount rate should be included, including zero is also possible. Therefore, my colleague Oki-Taikan, Professor Oki, his colleague is his student is published this article. This is using the 4% discount, economic discount rate. This is almost the same conclusion of the Lombard, but we assumed in the biodiversity and health, in this case, we assumed no discount rate. In this case, yes, 2 Celsius degrees scenario is pace. It's good. And sometimes yes, but still some renewable energy has a local impact on the local biodiversity. Mitigation measures. This is mitigation measures will prevent global biodiversity loss because of climate change. Is one of the 5 major factors driving forces to biodiversity loss. Therefore, mitigation of measures is contribute the biodiversity conservation globally. But this is still a local impact on the local biodiversity. Therefore, we consider effects of climate mitigation benefit is global biodiversity in the world and all species. But also, we analyze, assess the local impact on the local biodiversity. In this case, yes, therefore, this is a very famous picture of Mr. Ishwaran, and he promotes and recommend the renewable energy and carbon credit is biosphere reserves transition areas. This is very important. We promote mitigation, both mitigation measures and adaptation measures, like this. Thank you very much. And our UNESCO chair is now under the proposal for renewal. And the next, if this proposal is accepted, the next year, our operation system a bit changed of this. And I will make a co-chairholder. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Matsuda. A very interesting talk. I think we see here the impact of the working of the UNESCO chair, not only on biosphere reserve, but on the global agenda, on everything that really tackles with this issue of human-nature conflict, on climate change, or let's say now it's more climate crisis, but also biodiversity protection. So very interesting talk, and thank you very much. And really looking forward that your scheme of the UNESCO chair will really come through and develop. Any questions immediately to Professor Matsuda? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Then we move quickly to the next speaker, Professor Helena Freitas. Please, it's your turn. Please, you stay on board. We have to fix this somewhere here.
Thank you. Let's see. I'm freezing. It's so I don't know if it's possible to have the presentation. I'm not sure. Or I can yeah. You have it? Bom, muito obrigada em primeiro lugar, em português. É um gosto enorme estar aqui nesta universidade e convosco, com a comunidade académica. É um privilégio estar também nesta região do mundo e ter a oportunidade de participar um pouco na COP. No, I have. Quer que eu procure? Chama-se UNESCO Chair e termina em Belém. UNESCO Chair. Não? Estará na pen. Viu a pen. Com licença, desculpa. Não tem a pen, que ele acabou de trazer. Pode pôr a pen aí. Pode pôr. Pode abrir a pen. Vai até ao fim, está bem? Vai até... Não é isso. Não, lá.
Yep. Just looking for the,
veja lá.
For the presentation.
Não, pode ir até ao fim da pen. Tem...
It's coming.
UNESCO Chair, ok? Experimenta aí. Só chover. Pode ser? Pode pegar aí? O Mac às vezes, mas é o Mac, ok. É.
Stop.
É porque ele estava a abrir um alias. Ok? Verdade? Não precisa ver, ainda agora abriu, estava lá. Tá? Mas ele tinha aberto. Puxa, ele abriu. Tem que ser o ficheiro mesmo, não é? Chatice. Não consegue abrir? Não, tenho o meu computador. Quer que eu grave em PDF e passe outra vez? Oh, ok. I don't know. Agora então em inglês. No, it's fine because I think it's better to keep it in English probably.
It's not
It's okay?
in English.
Okay, I should it in English. Anyway, thank you very much again for this kind invitation to join you. I'd like to thank Professor Luis Aragón and Professor Miguel Clüsener-Godt for this kind invitation to join you today. So it's, as I said, it's really amazing to be here, to participate in the COP13, and at the same time to have the chance to be in this amazing place, amazing region, which I had a chance to visit for the first time 2 months ago. I was in Manaus for visiting the Biosphere Reserve. It was really impressive. And so again, it's a pleasure to be back. So the plan would be to present you a bit of the work that we've been doing in the scope of our UNESCO chair in Biodiversity Safeguard for Sustainable Development. We are 2 members of the UNESCO chair here today. So we have been sharing a lot of this program, in fact. So what I'm planning to present you is what we've been doing with the scope of this UNESCO chair, as I said, and at the same time, our plan for the near future, what is the program that has just been approved by UNESCO. So hoping that it will be possible to present the slides. Yeah. Good. Well done. Thank you. Yeah, because there's a lot of pictures. I was not sure of this is one of our UNESCO Biosphere reserves in the Azores Islands. It's amazing. You should visit. It's really fantastic. So that was the plan. So I will present you briefly. So we are based in University of Coimbra in Portugal. No, it doesn't work. So could you? Okay, you cannot read obviously, but I was not sure of the size of the panel. So this was one of the projects that we have promoted, and it was really strategic for the UNESCO chair, for the UNESCO Biosphere Reserves of Portugal. We managed to get a very good funding that, and with this support, we did a project that involved all the Portuguese biosphere reserves, and it was funded by an international fund. And we could involve all the 12 Portuguese biosphere reserves. I will then show you in the map. It was extremely important because we managed really to generate a network, and within this network, it was possible to come up with some educational and training programs, communication strategy. It was as part of this, we managed to build an amazing portal that is now available with a lot of information on the Portuguese biosphere reserves. And we also started the Portuguese speaking countries network, the CPLP MAB network, that was also an outcome of this project. So it was really very important. We did also the Ecosystem Services National Strategy for the Biosphere Reserves. And also as part of this, we managed to have a commitment of the National Ministry to have, as Miguel was explaining, the 30-30 targets. So we, in a way, we managed to include our biosphere reserves as part of the Portuguese strategy for the accomplishment of the Kunming-Montreal Protocol. So please. So this is the portal that is online, and it's in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. You can have a look if you wish. I'm not planning to show you, but it's really a very good and powerful portal. With this, we have data of any sorts of data that you can find it inside. No, please, not. No. Okay, so all sorts of data you can also have, not only for the Portuguese reserves, but also for the Portuguese-speaking countries, even for those from Brazil. You can also have at least a short information on each of them, and with data of different sources. And at the same time, with this data, it's been now possible to do a number of different programs that we are generating, from nature-based solutions for each biosphere reserves up to, for example, carbon credits, biodiversity credits, all these kind of programs that are now very, very important to preserve these biosphere reserves. And now with all this sort of data, we can really do a lot of work. For example, we managed also to convince our national airports, and then in the islands as well, to do a very important touristic approach and publicity of the biosphere reserve. At the same time, we managed to bring many companies and convince them to use the biosphere reserve as part of also the export strategy, for example. So this kind of this portal has been very useful, and I think, and we are of course every day we got also funding for the Ministry for Environment, and with this funding we keep the portal updated, and it's really being more and more important. So please go on. So the Portuguese biosphere reserves, now this is also, it's some update, because we have 13, not more, not 12. Now we have increased the number, and we've submitted another one. But anyway, with these 12, we had 2 in Madeira Islands, 4 in the Azores, and 6 in the mainland. And you can see 3 of them are transboundary. So 3 transboundary reserves, part of the 22 international transboundary reserves, which really a nice rate, and it's we are really working a lot with these transboundary biosphere reserves, and you can see it represents already a nice percentage of the national territories. So that's and also the Portuguese classified areas. So you can proceed, please. Yeah. So. Okay. Just as to sum up, these are the 2 biosphere reserves, 4 in the Azores, and now we have in the mainland. So you can proceed. Just this is one of the biosphere reserves that is very interesting for the topic. That's why I put because it's in the Peniche and Berlengas. It's our coastline. There's a lot of seagrass meadows. We find all along the Atlantic coast, a lot of coral reefs, not only in the tropics. We also have Mediterranean coral reefs, which are part of a very interesting strategy of restoration these days. And this is, for example, an island, a very small island in front of the region of Peniche, and where this is like a sanctuary for nesting fishes and seagrass meadows. So it's a lot of blue carbon that is really in this part of Portugal, and that's really very interesting. Part of the Biosphere Reserve is in the marine side, and part is mainland. But it started to be only a marine Biosphere Reserve, but nowadays it also involves the mainland, part of the mainland, because of the fisheries communities. So it was really a nice, but you can proceed. And then we have, of course, in the islands, a lot of the islands of the Azores, for example, the part of the Sustainable Development Strategy is based on energy. So some of the islands are already like 60 or 70% self-supported by renewable energies. So the Portugal and Spain together, we have now 61% of our energy is renewable. And the target of Iberia is to have 80% of renewable energy this decade. So it's really something that is pushing our economies, and it's worth to mention, because a lot of our improvement of the national economies, and especially for Portugal, are based in this energy transition. It was really very costly for the country, and now this investment in renewable energy is really changing the country. And also the Portuguese are more proud of their transition process, and this makes a difference. It's really engaging the Portuguese in the sustainable development transition, and I think it's important to mention. And our biosphere reserves in the islands are really extremely committed to this energy approach, because we are talking about islands, and sometimes big islands that can have like 5,000 inhabitants, 5,000, one full island in the Azores. So it's really something that you can envisage for the economy. These are some other examples of the biosphere reserves where we have a lot of biocultural heritage, traditional. We don't have indigenous communities, but we have traditions and biocultural heritage that we would like to protect and really to make it part of the regular activity. And a lot of biodiversity. Portugal and Spain together have 50% of the European biodiversity, which is half of the European Union biodiversity is in Iberia. So it's also, of course, part of the strategy. So that's what Miguel just mentioned, and just show that it's really fantastic to be part of this UNESCO Biosphere Reserves network. It's huge. It's an amazing network, different places, communities, cultures. And we think, and I believe, so I'm very much in joining Miguel in his approach from ever. It's been very inspiring for all of us, that really biosphere reserves can be land based models of development, and we should really pay attention, because we don't have many models that really show that it's possible to somehow bring together, conservation of biodiversity, nature conservation, and also people's well-being. Can you proceed, please? And that's just, I don't know if I share with you, we just prepared this in a scope of, and we presented in China. Mm-hmm. That's part of the Become project with the colleagues from Norway and Canada, biosphere reserves. It's an approach, an exercise of, a political exercise of how far the implementation of a global biodiversity framework, and UNESCO just publicized it as well. So we are doing our best to launch it, and it's an exercise that shows that the World Network of Biosphere Reserves is really, doing a difference in terms for the global biodiversity framework, which is part of the Treaty of Montreal, the protocol. Sorry. So it's something that we just publicized in the 3rd of November. We had the International Day of Biosphere Reserves. I don't know if you are aware of this day. It's a celebration, the 3rd of November. And in our portal, we use this, and it was very popular, because we were, claiming that we were already in the future. So join us, because we are already in the future. And in global terms, we are, in fact, 784, meaning almost 60% of the world. And this is, we should acknowledge it and show that this is a true network that is existing, and it's possible to use it as a showroom in a way. So that was just for, please. So what are we doing in the past, and we keep doing? What are the axes of our action? And so we have we try to develop some academic capacity building, and our major investments, as you can see, we have a joint master program in ecology and natural resources management in Huila, in Angola. I'm planning to invite you to join one of my lectures next year, if you'd like, to Angola. And it's in the region of Huila, and they are also partners of our UNESCO chair. So this is an amazing program. We've been really promoting this. It's not easy to do this kind of partnership and at education level and really keep it ongoing, but it's really working. And we managed to get also a PhD program funded. We have been lucky to have the support of the National Agency for Science, and we got 20 PhD scholarships annually, only for Africa and African students. So we've been really engaging this group of students from the islands of Cape Verde, from Angola, Mozambique, and other. They are coming and they joined this PhD, and this is really managed by the UNESCO chair. So I don't know if it was okay already, but you just change it. It's okay. No, please. Okay, again, just to see if, and this is worth to mention again, because we've started in 2016 this eco-literacy course. That is a subject that we teach to all the faculties of the University of Coimbra. So in the Faculty of Law, Economy, anyone can join this discipline. It's a free subject that is offered to the university community, all the university. Even though you are going to Coimbra, you can also attend it if you wish. It's the second semester. Citizen science, this is also one of our programs. One of the probably best known was the Plant Letters initiative that was managed by Zoo Universe, and the whole idea was really to use some of the historical documents that we had, and it's open. Anyone in the world can really support us doing the translation, and sometimes it's not easy to read the documents. So we have a lot of collaboration at the world level. It's really amazing the success of this citizen science initiative, but we have others like plant invasions also, and other initiatives. And citizen science is one of our strategies also with the students, with the schools. We also have a very nice podcast with the schools, the primary schools, with this kind of trainings. Please. Another initiative that we've been, we managed to promote. It's the Digital with Purpose Global Summit. So we participated with the biodiversity agenda, promoting. Because we have more and more. The digital agenda is, of course, well supportive of the biodiversity strategy. Conferences, we've also organized and participate in several conferences, and we have this one of the cost action is an European project that is also in the scope of the chair. We also we have promoted the side event in the COP 16 in Colombia last year, and it's on Human for Biodiversity, the futures of biodiversity conservation. It was a very interesting also side event. It was really very successful, and we plan to have a second edition next year in Armenia as part of the COP17 as well. Research and knowledge. What we've been doing is we of course we would like to continue working and together with this network, namely with Luis and his chair, and also our colleagues from Yokohama and from Heidelberg. We have this Become project that is being very active, as I said, promoting some of the science policy interface. Also have this the mangrove that is we've just submitted a paper in Nature Conservation People in mangroves of West Africa, and it's part of this scheme. And we would like to keep this mangrove studies in West Africa, so that's why I put it here, because it's also something that is worth to mention. We are planning to invest in creating electronic floras for West Tropical Africa, because we have the expertise, and so this is also part of the research strategy. So I don't have time to develop, please pursue. We are also participating in the Root and Resilience, that was a UNESCO initiative, because we have a very strong group in soil sciences, and so we are hoping to participate in this initiative and keep our network in the topic. So this is going to be strategic. So please. And what I would like also to mention, because this one was one of the first 50 projects approved in the scope of the UNESCO International Decade for Science for Sustainable Development. We have submitted one initiative that was approved, and it's going to be one of our hot programs over the next 5 years. It's in agroecology, so farming systems, transition of the farming systems, using, of course, our ecological knowledge and supporting its. We have many projects, ongoing research projects that are European funded, and we hope that this is going to be really helpful to support this CPLP Biosphere Reserves initiative, where we want, it's called Root, and the idea is really to build capacity and training and research-driven collaboration with the Portuguese-speaking countries of Africa, and in the topic of agroecology, because I strongly believe that the food system is critical to support, also prevent the loss of biodiversity and support the well-being of communities. So I think that's all, but please, I think that's all. Okay, thank you very much. So it was a very brief presentation of the UNESCO chair, but if you...
Thank you very much, Helena, and perfect in time.
Yeah.
Exactly 11:30. But any big questions? I like very much your saying almost 6% of the world population is living already in the future.
Yes.
I like this very much. Because it's really what is needed.
Yeah.
And I think it's also recognition of what these people are doing, because they are not doing this for us, they are doing this for themselves.
Yeah.
You know? And well, where's the benefit from them? I think it's a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, I call the next speaker, Professor Luis Aragón, here from Belém, from the city where we are, on the UNESCO chair of South-South Cooperation for Sustainable Development. Come here.
Aquí.
Bueno, yo lo he puesto aquí. No, voy aquí.
¿Será que da?
Ya. Ahí vamos. Please.
Aragón, Luis Aragón. Se llama una presentación. Claro.
Ponte aquí.
No, uno presentation. No sé si colocar.
Ponte aquí o ponte ahí.
No sé si mudaron.
O aquí.
Después.
Aquí todavía mejor.
Si quer puxa lá o pendrive da minha. É isso aqui. Ó, vai, passou. Aqui. Não, a primeiro. Esse aí.
Ici, ça va, non? Le froid. Está bien. Aquí está bien.
Muito bem.
Ah, ahí estamos. Ya.
Será que funciona?
Esto no funciona. Tienes que decirlo.
Sí. Bueno, so we are going to talk about what is this share doing and what is the history and how we got here and what are the future of this or the perspectives of this next. Oh, this share was created in 15 September 206. So next year we'll complete 20 years share. And it appears that was yesterday. Time goes so fast.
That's the problem.
Time goes so fast. And what is the UNESCO share? UNESCO share is essentially an agreement between UNESCO and the university, writing in that the university is agreed to promote certain activities, of course, with the line of thinking of UNESCO. That's why the UNESCO shares is a program that go to the really end of the society and then the very down, the very grounds to reach people. So the UNESCO shares will implement somehow the UNESCO ideas, the UNESCO programs, the UNESCO activities. Essentially in education. Why? Because it's a UNESCO share, because it functions in universities or in research institutes. Once this agreement is signed, the university agrees and gives support to maintain the share and, of course, get money, etc., to implement the activities. But those activities cannot be just activities. It has certain focus. It has objectives. Very clear what each share do. And within UNESCO, first, in the host of the share, in this case, the Federal Para, the university should decide where the share is going to be located and why it's located there. In this case, the negotiations were all through Naea, and there was a decision that the best place in the university to host the share is here. So that's why the decision was here. And in other universities, in many cases, it's directly to the president of the university, in special unit. But in this case, the Naea internally agrees to give all support, so gives to the share all the human support and infrastructure, etc., to implement the share. And the president of the university nominates the shareholder or the coordinator of the share. In the share specifically, there is 3 objectives that the share should follow. The first one is that one. This negotiation is not easy and somehow what to do because the share can be, there are shares of everything, absolutely everything. And within UNESCO, the share is linked to one of these main programs. In this case, it's linked to the programs of the Division of Ecological Sciences, Earth and Ecological and Earth Sciences, and specifically within that division in the program of MAP, or Biosphere Research. So the objectives have to be somehow in the line of this division or this program of MAP program. So what is the first objective of this share? The first is to develop scientific knowledge and to improve South-South cooperation for sustainable development, thus helping to achieve concrete results in order to improve synergy in the delivery of high-quality scientific information on the current understanding of environmental change, emerging environmental issues, the interaction between humankind and the environment, and their consequences for the human will. Somehow, this is what Naea is doing. I mean, the mission of Naea somehow coincides with the mission, or at least one of the objectives of it. The second objective, next one. The second objective is to facilitate collaboration between high-level internationally recognized researchers and teaching staff of the University of Será and other institutions in Brazil and elsewhere in Latin America and the Caribbean and in other regions of the world. Another thing that Naea is doing also, because Naea integrates the exchange of students, professors from many universities, Coimbra, in national with UNILA, with National Columbia, etc. So the share should facilitate this interaction, improve this, strengthen this action. And the third one, the third objective, is to implement, this is somehow the practical thing, to implement a broad system of activities and partnerships, that's why we are called partners here, related to higher education, research, and documentation, and in particular to major themes as the population and the environment in the Amazon region and the Biosphere Reserve. So this is the third one. This is practically the activities of the share. Mainly, this is a more practical objective. Well, next. So what are we doing, and why the existence of the share? It's because we want to change someday this map that divide the world in the global north and global south. For some time, I was asking myself, what the hell is global south? Some people say, no, it's because it's the south of the equator. Not that. And also, if there is a global south, should be a global north. Or what? So this is the map of the United Nations that classify the countries according to the levels of development. And practically, all the developing, underdeveloped, or whatever names of the country, are located at the south of the north, global north, except Australia and New Zealand and some small islands. That's why it's called global south. Embraces all the countries that have somehow similarities. Cannot be put all in the same basket, but at least have challenges very similar. So we thought when we created the share, that if we really strengthen the cooperation and join forces with institutions located in the south, it will be more positive, it will be more enriching, it will be more better use the cooperation from other parts of the country, from other parts of the world, developed countries, etc. Because traditionally, the cooperation north-south, the aid and those things, at the long run, somehow created more dependency of everything. Because the country was unable to absorb the cooperation and grow. But if we put it together and we strengthen the cooperation into several institutions, we can share infrastructure, we can share human resources, we can share programs, and this will facilitate to take advantage of all the cooperation countries. That doesn't mean the South-South doesn't mean that we are against the North or something like that, and many people think of that. It's the contrary. It's to make these countries more effective in the sense of cooperating with the North. Next. Another two things is when we talk about the Amazon in this year, we refer to the whole Amazon, not only to the Brazilian Amazon or to the Colombian Amazon or the Ecuadorian Amazon. The Amazon is involving 9 countries, including one European country, France, because includes the French Guiana, that is still oversees the department or province of France. And it's like appears to be very simple, but it's not very complex. Because, for example, when the Amazon Cooperation Treaty was created in 1972, but supposedly in 1972, what happened? That France said, we are also Amazonian countries, so we should integrate the Amazonian countries. And until today, France, for example, says that the largest frontier is with Brazil because of the French Guiana. It's a country where the money is euro. The law is the French law. So this generates a lot of complexities for the other countries. So this is one of the things, the complexity of the Pan-Amazon, let's say. And the rest of the countries, Suriname, that was colony of the Netherlands for some time, Guyana, from United Kingdom, then Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Brazil. Of course, the largest part of 70% is Brazilian, but doesn't mean that the other countries doesn't have the rights to their own Amazonian. And this complicates because these divisions were artificial. The region is one, but somebody just, this part is Brazilian, this part is Colombian, this part is Ecuadorian. So we have to find ways of generating knowledge about the whole Amazon. When you speak about Amazon in Colombia, for example, it refers to the Colombian Amazon. There are very little knowledge in Colombia about the Brazilian Amazon or the Ecuadorian, Peruvian. It's something that here too. If you say basically is sobre Brazilian Amazon, you hardly find texts that talk about the Peruvian Amazon or the Colombian Amazon or the Venezuelan or the Guyana now is starting growing knowledge. This one. And if we talk about just some ideas, some basic information about the Amazon, the Grand Amazon or the total Amazon or the Pan Amazon, we're talking about 7.5 million square kilometers. This is a really huge. It's larger than Europe, the total Europe. And if you put countries there are so many countries. We are talking about 40 million people, according to the last census of each country. We talk about the 9 countries, how I told you. And a long history, the region has been pressured since arrived the Spanish and Portuguese arrived in this part of the world. Always pressured to occupy the area. But still, along these more than 500 years, still the whole region, about 8% is preserved. Doesn't reach 20% of forest degraded. So many things, all of these spectacular things, that burning and all of that, they think that there is only one tree.
One tree left,
something like that. But there's still 80%. That doesn't mean that we have just forget it. It's still 20% of 7.5 million square kilometers is a lot of land. But in a regional terms, we still have. So this is a hope that we can control it. It is a hope that we can get ways of using this tremendous stock of resources in a different way that destroying their own resource. And the Amazon is about 1/3 of the whole tropical forest. Next. So what is the history of this? share. This share practically began in 1992 as a consequence of the meeting of Rio de Janeiro. There were many people, and in this meeting, the Rio 92 conference, there was a lot of talking about the human tropics. I mean, this seemed like the first time really was an awareness of the whole world about the significance that it had, not only the Amazon, but the tropics as a total, in the sense of controlling, even talking about climate, biodiversity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So after this meeting, the conference finished in June 1992. At that time, there was an association of Amazonian University that was somehow a daughter of Naea. They put it together, all the universities, not only Brazilian, but other countries that talk about Amazon, had the initiative organize a conference in Manaus. And about what? About the human tropics and about the significance of this huge region. And since there were people coming from Malaysia, from Indonesia, from all the Amazonian countries, so this just expanded a little bit the time and moved to Manaus. And of course, this conference was supported by UNESCO and other agencies. And who was representing UNESCO in this meeting, organizing activities, was Miguel Clüsener. We met for the first time in that conference. And also, he and Ignacio Sachs was behind the idea of building capacity of these humans. We cannot continue thinking about the forest, about the human tropics, outside the human tropics. We have to involve people that are living there. And we discovered that there were institutions here. We discovered that there's INPA, we discovered that there is Naea, we discovered that there is a university in Indonesia, we discovered that there are universities important in India, we discovered in China, etc. All of this is human tropics. And what are they doing? Do they know each other? Do they have any agreements? Do they have any cooperation? So then there was, of course, several results of that meeting. And one important conclusion of that was that we need to create a program to facilitate the connection between these institutions, so themselves can help creating building capacity, strengthening building capacity in this institution, so we can talk together and somehow make also responsible for what is happening in this region. And that program was South-South Cooperation Program on Environmentally Sound Socioeconomic Development of the Human Tropics, known as a South-South program. Was beginning the program supported by UNESCO, the University of the United Nations in Tokyo, and the Third World Academy of Sciences. The headquarters of the program was in the program hub in UNESCO, and here I coordinated the activities related to activities in the field. There were four basic objectives of that program. One, to review the state of knowledge. What do we have here? What the university exists? What institution exists? How many scientists we have? We have in Africa, in Congo. How many people we have in Indonesia, here in Colombia, in Mexico, etc., that deal with the human tropics? What are the scientific production of this institution, etc.? So then, with this survey, it was possible to identify priorities. We cannot do absolutely everything, but certain things. Second, as a consequence of the first one, is to identify the means of strengthening the cooperation with the institution. We know now what we are going to do to put these people together, with these people joint research, fellowships, exchange of students, exchange of professors, etc. Also, there was a lot of, we discovered finally that there was a lot of information in each one of these institutions, but these institutions know what they're doing. There was nothing known about the organization, so we have to exchange information, publications, organize events, seminars in different countries with participation of all of these people. And finally, it's a tax to get support from somebody had to finance these things, not only UNESCO and the three. Of course, they put it effort in money, technical assistance, and the dynamics of Miguel and Ignacy Sachs keep all of these activities. And one important recommendation. We need to create a doctoral program related to the environment and development of the human tropics. And they was agreed that the institution at that moment that has a better conditions, the best condition to have a program like this was Naea. And then in 1994 was created our program. Our program is a program of sustainable development of human tropics. That's why we don't, in our program, we're not talking about development of the Amazon or something, development of the human tropics. And who was behind that was Ignacy Sachs, who delivered the opening conference in 1994. There are some ideas, there were some results of the program along the years. There is this map published by Miguel just some time ago,
Long time ago.
citing some activities that we had in India, in Mexico, in China, in Colombia, in activities, exchange of students, research, etc., short courses. So we practically have in many countries of the world this time. And we have to make the world know what we are doing. So we created two newsletters, let's say, to diffuse the program. One was South Perspectives. It was published in English by UNESCO. When they just get information what the progress, what were going on in the program, and was published and distributed, disseminated by UNESCO. And the other one was the working papers. The working paper was simply an agreement between one researcher that had an important project on Biosphere or whatever, and then organized this series and publish a small paper on that. Several publications like that, this one that was simply the selection of the papers presented in the conference of Manaus. This one organized by Miguel y Ignacy Sachs, published in a series of UNESCO. This one, I brought this one, Conservación Desenvolvimiento, in the cost required, because we had a conference, I don't remember, it was 1990 something, or 2000 or something, I think it 2000, that have something like the scheme that we have in this one, conferences in Belém, and then a fieldwork in the coast, and result that publication. So that helped us to organize the activity that we have today. This was very important. We have in 2003, there was an International Day of Water. And we organized a seminar with the participation of people from all the Amazonian countries. And we published, UNESCO published in English and in Spanish, and this program. And this is a unique really program. Why? Because the idea was to study what are the principal issues, the principal problems that face the population that live in very humid areas and very dry areas. How handle the use of water? So we selected the Amazon as a case study, and we selected the Arabian Peninsula. And we organized events in each one and published one book in each of this one. And then we organized a seminar, putting together the two teams and get some conclusions in Hamilton and publish another text. And of course, start working with the Biosphere research in the Amazon. The team began. Remember that the objective of the share, one of the objectives has to be linked to the Biosphere research. So we have to identify what to do with Biosphere research in the Amazon. Next. Well, another important important point in the creation of this share is this research group. CNPq Naea Research Group, Environment, Population, and Development of the Amazon. Naea is organized in research groups, several research groups, and we one coordinator. In my case, is this one that was created in 2000 that put together scientists from all the Amazon region, or all the Amazonian countries, the Amazonian countries that work in the Amazon, with the Amazon, in relation to studying population, environment, no each one individually, but the relation between three variables: environment, population, and the implications for development. And these were my students and students of other professors like Sakana and others write their thesis and dissertation. And organize a lot of all this. When the chair was created in 2006, this research was incorporated into the chair, and we organized several seminars with participation of people from all Amazonian countries and produced this series, the policy ambiente, internal, external, migration, etc. So the result of the event, comparative research, thesis and dissertation, inclusion of the topic, population and development in the disciplines of the postgraduate education, and of course some publication. It's a correct. In 2006, there was important approval of the UNESCO chair, 2006. And what happened? The program, the South-South program, was incorporated, so was inherited by the chair. Now it's formally created the chair. Change the name. The program is not related exclusively to human service, but simply as a South-South cooperation in general. There's a South-South cooperation for sustainable development. In 2009, already we met in Korea and created a MOU, agreement between institutions, the Indonesia, Brazil, and Republic of Democratic of Congo. And still is working, but very, very hard. It's discovering, but extremely hard, the language, the distance, the money. But still we have meetings in Kinshasa, we have meetings in Indonesia. And in 2023, there was the second, I didn't know that was already one, the second summit of the three basins, the Amazon, the Congo, and Southeast Asia. So they discovered that we have already in the future, we have already a meeting at the level institution. We are already working. So they discovered this agreement, and they pushed UNESCO immediately called people from Indonesia, academians. And I was invited. I was there, and of course also people from the University of Kinshasa organized a symposium, and we tried to put something in the final declaration because this is a diplomatic meeting, in the final declaration, but recognized UNESCO, but they didn't refer exactly. But we met again, and we tried to so at this moment we try to revive this agreement. Next one. So these are meetings. One important program. Of course, we have several programs, several projects. This is what perhaps the most important project that we had the share. That was 2010 to 2016. We already 10 years. That was called Rural Sustainable Development and Conservation of Biodiversity in Biosphere Reserve of the Amazon region. This was really within the heart of the chair. Put together first to identify if there is any biosphere reserve in the Amazon. And if those were biosphere reserve, if they know each other. So we discovered that we have 12 biosphere reserves from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Ecuador, from Peru, from Bolivia, and from Brazil. Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana don't have, until today, biosphere reserves. That's why they are out of this program. There were 12, and the idea was to work, first of all, put these people talking together, the managers, and to know each other. And then to identify what are the strongest things they are doing in each biosphere reserve. And finally, to implement some projects that somehow add value to the products that they are doing and put in the market. Next one. So the project was implemented in 3 phases. The first phase was just to know and put these people together. And second was formulation of pilot studies in each biosphere reserve according with the activities. So we have 48 of these pilot studies. And phase 3 was selection of those 48. We selected 12 to be implemented. Next one. So this is one example of synergy between biosphere reserve and UNESCO shares. Next. Perspectives. What to do from now on. 2023 was for the share an exceptional year because there were so many things happening. First, Naea completed 50 years. And the share organized here a meeting like this one. Miguel was invited. We participated, and so it make a balance what we're doing until today and what are the future. There was the meeting in Japan, and that you talk about the implementation of this group or share. There was the summit of the 3 basins, and still we have the agreement with the share in the Coimbra. Still, so this 2023 generated a lot of things, ideas that we can implement from now on. And still in 2025, in this year we have the World Congress in China, that was a presentation of this share, and we are here. Next one. So what I see, first, support to the research MAPA, the MAPA's group. We still, in research, we should support more and more these activities of the master's program, of the master students, PhD students, research, with the participation of people from all the Amazonian countries. Support the graduate program of Naea with exchanges, with teaching, with the discipline. Strengthen cooperation, the UNESCO shares that happen here, and there are other people that are somehow it's time for trying to work with other shares too. Strengthening the partnership that UNESCO shares in Brazil. That's even we are going today to launch a book at 6 o'clock that have a summary of what the shares in Brazil are doing. There are 25 shares, but with unit interest about 30. And so this is the Ciudadanía Global y Sustentabilidad. That is. A new publication like this, the carbon, as I told you. And finally, continue working, strengthening for new biosphere reserves. We have worked on the Moderator Island, here on creating a biosphere reserve in Suriname. Still, this thing is hard negotiation, but still, we are here and we are trying to do whatever we can. Next. Thank you. I'm sorry for the time.
Thank you very much, Luis. This was an exciting overview. Last 30 years of work in the Amazon. And you reminded me of this project, 12 biosphere reserves in 6 countries.
6 countries, yes.
Very cumbersome, but quite good. Gave excellent results. And by the way, this project gave birth to a project financed by LVMH, now with UNESCO, where this luxury company puts a lot of money into UNESCO to continue this. I mean, we are totally out of that, but we launch ideas and the ideas take off. But it's quite difficult to launch ideas and to see. And the future perspectives, I think, are in a way bright, because the necessity is there. There's not that now the job is done. No way. We are middle inside, and just talked to Helena on this south-south cooperation, it is still high on the agenda because it's still a very small flower that we need to hatch and it's still not growing up to a big tree. But well, yeah, we are coming to our last presentation now. Professor Alexander Siegmund from Heidelberg University, from the UNESCO chair,
he's there.
World Heritage of Biosphere Reserve, Observation Education. Hello, Alexander, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me try if I can share my slides. Should be possible, I hope. Yes, seems to, yeah, perfect. Okay, you can see my presentation already. Yeah, that's great. So
yes, we know.
Muy obrigado, and thank you to all of you for the very kind introduction at the very beginning, Miguel, to you, but also to my colleagues from Japan, Portugal, and especially you, Luis, who make this possible, that we can share, at least virtually, today our different ideas. And I brought some slides with me about our UNESCO chair, which was already mentioned, UNESCO chair on observation and education of World Heritage and Biosphere Reserves, situated at Heidelberg University of Education, but also as a working group which is working also at Heidelberg University at the Institute of Geography and Geocommunication Research Group for Earth Observation. So that's the full title. And I'm happy to be with you. And let me introduce to my UNESCO chair, which was situated in 2016. We are running now in the third period of 4 years. Hopefully work together with you in the future more dense than we have done before. Okay, let's start with our guiding principle. So our motto, let's say, our guiding principle is recognize, explore, understanding and sustainably shaping the Earth system. That's the overall idea of the UNESCO chair, what it is about, or to summarize even between science and science education. And to make it more concrete, what is the UNESCO chair about? I titled it the UNESCO chair in Heidelberg meet their geotechnologies meet sustainability. And the UNESCO chair on observation education is about the using of modern geoinformation technologies. Therefore, we have our GIS station, our center of competence for digital media. It's an out of learning and teaching center, but also a research center where we use drone data, satellite data, any kind of spatial data to analyze, to monitor, to explain, explore spaces, to explore areas. On the other hand side, we also have a GECO lab. It's our center of competence for geoecological space exploration, where the focus is on the development and evaluation and the application of geological field and laboratory methods. And all this is about to communicate to sustainable development, to model, to analyze UNESCO designated sites. So the specific focus is UNESCO designated sites, but we also work on other kind of areas which are not related to UNESCO, but the background is what I've presented before. And therefore we have initiated by the UNESCO chair a university-wide center education for sustainable development. So B&E is the German word for education for sustainable development. I'm the founding general manager of that institute until 2018, where we try to foster different aspects of sustainability with all the disciplines at our university, which is at the end a full university from pedagogy, sociology, different languages, mathematics, STEAM education, geography, sports. So we are a small university, but a full university because our focus is on teaching and training, ongoing teachers and other kind of players in the educational sector. Yeah, and to go a little bit more in depth to the Gecko and the GIS station, as I said, they are both center of research, but also of teaching and capacity development. And the Gecko Lab, there we have the focus on field methods, so how to measure, for example, climate. We have an own network of climate stations. I will get to that later on. We have own lab space where we can make research on science and whatever. And we are using models and experiments to explore the system and the processes in the environmental area. The GIS station, on the other hand side, the focus is on remote sensing, so satellite, drone data, aerial photos, on geoinformation systems and mobile geo tools. And all these tools are used to realize, to manage, to analyze, and to present spatial data. And these two centers of competence, teaching labs and research labs, are interlinked like gears, as you can see on that picture here. They are not separated. They are working very closely together under the umbrella of the UNESCO chair of the Institute of Geography and Geocommunication. And just to give you an overview before I come more in depth to some of the projects most related to biosphere reserves, this is just an overview about the projects we are running right now in our team, where we have some 25 people of staff, some 15 PhD students, and quite a big institute. So one of the projects is about fog ecosystems in the Atacama Desert. I will get to that later on a little bit more in depth. Another project is about orchids. So this is a very typical cultural landscape, also under national protection, as being part of national heritage. There we use drone data to detect the vitality, this kind of species of these thousands of trees for each single tree. Another aspect more on science education is an adaptive e-learning platform we have developed to use modern satellite data for Earth observation for young people. It's called Geospective.de. So if you type in your browser www.geospective.de, you can directly explore our webpage. It's in German until now. I think you get an idea about how it looks like and how it works. Something similar, which we have developed for adults, especially for authorities and UNESCO designated sites, is a project called Space to Place, where we have been the winner of an award in Union on the Copernicus Masters University Challenge, or Global Challenge, where there have been more than 80 applications, and our project, our concept, have been the winner project, where we want to empower authorities, managers, whatever, at UNESCO designated sites to use Earth observation. So it's a capacity development program which we want to roll out in the coming years, based on the national and on an international need assessment on the use of modern geotechnologies. And there's much demand. That is what I can say as a summary on that. On the right-hand side, you see two projects on the upper part on climate change mitigation and adaptation education. So the first one is about interactive teaching and learning materials to promote natural climate protection or natural climate mitigation. So what can trees, forests, swamplands do to mitigate climate change? The other one, CLIMS21, it's also browser-based. So you can 21 in your Google, and you will find our interactive series game about climate adaptation education. So what does someone in a German forest, a forest man, has to do if he sees, okay, some of the trees are not dealing good with the follows of climate change in Germany. It's getting too warm, it's getting too dry. Some of the trees are not anymore fitting very well to that climate. So what can I do? And you have to do that in taking in consideration the different dimensions of sustainability. So ecological aspects, social aspects, also economical aspects. And then you have taken 60, and if you have done so, then you can proceed and see how good you have adapted to climate. The last two projects, it's about education for sustainable development. Right now we are running, and I'm the head of European projects where we work together with 10 Latin American universities from Argentina via Colombia, Costa Rica, and Mexico, from a very small university with 2,000 students up to the National University of Mexico with 100,000 students and an own television channel, to anchor ESG in their curriculum. So how can education for sustainable development be implemented in the curriculum of the studies, and how can the members be trained on capacity development programs to do it in their specific stuff. So this is one project. We have another one in South Africa. And the last project, it's also an e-learning platform about education for sustainable development, where you have the possibility to train yourself in different aspects of sustainability, education for sustainable development. What does the SDGs mean? What are the targets, the objectives of these SDGs? Also something you can access for free in the web. This is just as an overview of our initiatives. Now I want to come a little more concrete to the one or the other project, which is more related or directly linked to biosphere reserves. But first, as a last slide on the overview, these are our international cooperations. So the world is our field as geographers, as we say. There are many cooperating partners in Western and South Africa, but recently many projects running in South America. In Europe, we are a little bit poor in the eastern hemisphere. So we want to develop that in the future. And my next step will be to go to Australia to set up a project there, also on fork ecosystem. But these are our projects and partners with different backgrounds around the world, which we have. Okay, and altogether I can make it very short. We have 27 people of staff members, 17 PhD students, 11 ongoing projects, more than 1 million third-party funding per year, some 500 publications in the last 20 years, so some 50 per year, you can say. We have these 2 extracurricular teaching and learning laboratories, and in the meanwhile we also have 2 virtual reality labs, one for the GIS station, one for the Gecko lab, where we can invite people from all over the world to make courses and workshops together with us on different topics. Okay, but now let's have a look at our agenda. As being UNESCO chair, these are the objectives we have, let's say, committed to UNESCO for the running period of 2025 to 2028. As you can see, we have three main field of focus. We have digital geomedia. The second one is climate change, adaptation, and education. And the third one is education for sustainable development. We have defined some short-term, medium-term, and long-term objectives we want to follow in the coming years. And in addition to that, some comprehensive crossover objectives, where one of the most important one is the work with UNESCO and with UNESCO designated sites as an overall objective along all these different thematic pillars. But now, let me come to some of our projects. The project I mentioned in the beginning is the project we are running in the Atacama Desert in Chile, in the northern part of Chile, where we work on fork ecosystems. So there's very poor rain, less than 1 liter per square meter, or less than 1 millimeter precipitation in average by year, so nothing you can say, but there's quite regular fog. And this regular fog is good enough that some specific ecosystems can grow. Like the lines you can see here, these are not dead, living plants. They are called Tillandsia landbekii, is endemic species for Chile and Peru. It's from the family of the Camellia species, and these plants just live out of the water from the fog, and what we find out newly also from the dew, which is situated there during the nights when there's no fog event, but there's cooling of the air. And as you can see here, we have installed altogether 8 climate stations, which run since 2016, where we can make very detailed observations about the fog income, the temperature, humidity, leaf wetness, and things like that. At the end, for the overall objective, to make an ecological niche modeling of these Stilanski plants. So where exactly are they situated, and why are they situated there? Because they are not spread around all the Atacama Desert. They are limited to very small corridors, which must have very specific ecological conditions to make it possible for these plants to live and to survive. This is a basic research, but the applied one, and there we come more to sustainable development in the context also of, or in the meaning of biosphere reserves and the MAP program, is that when we know where the tillandsias are situated, and when we know for which amount of fog water they are standing, because the density of these plants, the growing rate, is directly correlated to the fog water amount which is on the different places. If we know these correlations between atmosphere, so the fog, and the biosphere, the plants, we can evaluate the best places for local fog water harvesting by big fog water pressures for the local people, because they are struggling by a decrease of water, of groundwater. The backward side of the Atacama Desert, we have the big minings, the big lithium minings, the copper minings, necessary for the electricity, for the energy transition in Europe and in Germany. You need lithium for the batteries, you need copper for the electronic devices, and they use huge amount of groundwater. For just to give an idea, for 1 kilogram of lithium, you need up to 3,000 or 4,000 liters of fresh water. And in each of our electronic cars, there are 25 to 40 kilograms of lithium. Now you can calculate how much water we have in our backpack of our energy transition here in Germany, especially, and around the world, on the back of the people in the Atacama Desert, because they are struggling, because not much groundwater is getting through to the coast, and though they are struggling how to get enough water for irrigation, but also for the consumption, and the fog water can be an alternative or at least complementary water resource for them. And of course, we are targeting different SDGs, as you can see here: education, clean water, climate change, reduce inequalities, life on land, international partnership, of course. Another project I mentioned already before is the use of drone data to protect the valuable cultural landscape of orchid tree places or orchid tree fields. And we involve trainees of companies in the production of the data. And as you can see on the right-hand side, this is, let's say, that the circle we are doing. First, we fly with our drone. Based on that, we make different color composites or indices, like here NDVI. Then we detect every single tree automatically out of these aerial photos. And on the last step, we can, for every tree, and there are thousands of trees in one area, we can say if it's an apple or a pine or something, or cherry. But even more relevant is that we can evaluate if the trees are treated well, if they have good conditions, or if something has to be done to keep them alive, because these areas have a very high ecological value, because it's a very extensively used area. This is one of the areas and of the fields and the projects we are working. And as I said before, it's a natural heritage here in Germany. And there are also some of these orchids in some of the biosphere reserves we have in Germany, and all of them have the same problem. The people who are the owner of the areas getting older and able and willing to treat the trees necessary not to increase the ecological value. Another project we are just recently running with UNESCO is the FINO Connectivity Project. It's a project in a biosphere reserve, in a tree national biosphere reserve in Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, on the edge of these. You can see here how it looks like. It's tropical rainforest. And the first we have done is make a land use and land cover classification based on satellite images. And then based on that, we did a modeling and analysis of ecological corridors. So where can different animals with different demands on these spaces have ecological corridors where they can get from one place to another without any risk of being hunted or something like that. And you, on the upper right-hand side, you can see these corridors in different valuations. So from poor corridors, poor quality of the corridor to high quality of the corridor. And based on all the map, we can make an analysis and valuation of different connectivity scenarios. So what could be done in the biosphere reserve to increase the connectivity of the ecosystem within the biosphere reserve, to increase the possibility for the different animals to move, to be mobile. Another project, it's more related to cultural heritage, is a GIS-based attribute mapping of so-called pile dwelling. So this is about the assessment of a specific characteristics of outstanding value in one of these heritage sites in Baden-Württemberg in our state. And we are analyzing the so-called the buffer zones, and in the sense of so-called wider setting. Wider setting means beside the official buffer zones, there can be influence on the cultural heritage sites by different factors. In this case, by the ships of the nearby Lac de Constance, so a big lake which we have there, and the ships get bigger, and by the waves they produce, they can destroy this cultural heritage site. And so we did an analysis and definition of a so-called wider setting, in addition to the existing boundaries of this World Heritage Site and the different zones. So this is another project directly linked to UNESCO site, in this case cultural site, but can be also done for natural heritage sites. Getting more to the between science and science education, I want to introduce you to some of our tools we are using and we have produced by ourselves on the use of Earth observation technologies. On the left-hand side, you see our e-learning platform, Biosphere, which I already introduced before. It's an e-learning platform where you get access to different topics. Like, for example, one module, which you can show here, is about deforestation in the Brazilian forest. So you get some information about it, some content, and the students, this is produced for students, for pupils, you get questions. You have to do different tasks. And to do these tasks, you switch to our software Blyth, also web-based, free of charge, free of downloading. You just have to browse in the browser, and then you can implement an original satellite data from Copernicus, Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, Landsat data. You can upload the data like a scientist is doing, and with our web-based tool, you can make analysis, land use change classification, different indices like NDVI, which you can see here, true, false color composites. So you can analyze satellite and answer the questions which are asked in the e-learning platform. And in between these two tools, so Blyth and Biosphere, we have developed an own app. It's called Blyth Explorer, also free available in all app stores, where you can take a satellite image which you have analyzed at a computer at home with you to the field, make observation there, make ground truthing, for example, make pictures, and then bring it back to the computer in your office to even improve your classification, for example. So the app, the link in the satellite, the computer at home, and the fieldwork in the field can have different uses, not just for students, but also for professionals at UNESCO sites like Biosphere reserves, for example, to make choosing of different land uses, land cover changes, and things like that. Getting more to the aspect of climate change education, we have two tools. The one is an app, it's called Clim Reaction. This app, you can inform yourself about different follows of climate change. In this case, focus on Baden-Württemberg, our state, but for example, but this can be upscaled to any other or moved to any other region around the world if you have the relevant information. So we have all the scenarios of climate change for state in the app involved. You can make observations, for example, and you can report and collect data, for example, of trees which have been dying out by droughts in the forest. Or you can make a mapping with pupils or students or the most heat places or the most cool places in the context of climate change. So it's open what kind of topic you're working with, but it's helping you to combine content with local observations. On the right-hand side, also introduced by myself in the beginning, our serious game Klims 21. As I said, you are a player in a specific region. Here in this case, you can see you are someone who works against sea level rise, so sea level rise coast protection against sea level rise. So what can someone do living on the coast where the sea level rises? What kind of measures can be done? And then these different measures have to be evaluated. What kind of ecological side effects does it have? Are there some social side effects? And how much does the measure cost? And at the end, you make a decision. Then there's a time lapse going over the landscape. You can see the years on the bottom of the screen, and then different extreme events of sea level, of waves, of storms are coming, and then you can see how much you have been able to protect the land against the consequences of climate change based on the different measures you have done. And if you have not been successful, you can adapt and you can readapt the measures you are doing to protect against sea level rise. And the same is for agricultural areas, the same is for things in cities, the same is on forestry, and also this game and the serious game where we get different awards from different associations can be adapted and can be shifted to other regions around the world. So the engine is there. You just have to change the application, the content, and then you can use the same game, a serious game in Brazil, in Portugal, in Japan, or wherever you are from. You just need to adapt the content and the case studies. I'm coming closely to my end. One of the other projects related to biosphere reserves, because there are also often so-called UNESCO associated schools in biosphere reserves, is something we have set it up in Germany, but we are now spreading around the world. It's a project where we are installing professional climate stations at schools. So as you can see here, we have already installed some 13 professional climate stations at schools. That means the schools install it by themselves. They get some funding, some support to buy the stations, and all the stations are connected by our platform. You have access to this platform if you want to type in climate at RGODE is enough, and then you can see the platform where you can see all the stations which you are running from the Atacama Desert to the stations at the schools. You have access to all that data. Live access to the data at these schools, and our idea is to enlarge that network. We want to install such stations at climate UNESCO associated schools also around Europe, but at the end also around the world. One of the next stations will be in Trinidad and Tobago, to do things, to make research, but also make science education based on citizen science, young citizen science. We want to involve young people, young students from the schools in science by taking care about their own climate station, by using the data, by making additional observation, for example, on the phenology of the plants around them, or about the harvests in agriculture and correlated with droughts, with drought events, with flooding events. So this is a project on the edge between science and science education. And my last slide, the journey which I've presented, where we are on the way, it's just really started. So we are not at the end, we are, let's say, on the starting point. And just to summarize, what are the core pillars, the core field of focus of my UNESCO chair? The one is Earth observation by satellite data, by drone data, in general by digital geodata. This is directly linked to our GIS station, which is a capacity development and out-of-school training center on the use of digital geomedia. On the other hand side, we have our Gecko Lab, which works on climate change, on science, and climate change education on science education. And the 2 points on the bottom of this graph is digitalization. Many of these processes and measures we are doing and educational tools are based on fostering digitalization. And what we are going to do in the future with more focus is environmental risk assessment and disaster risk reduction and risk geocommunication. And all this is around the different 17 SDGs. And in the middle, we have our education for sustainable development. And that's, let's say, at a glance, the profile and the field of focus of my UNESCO chair, which we want to follow in the future, and hopefully together, not just with my dear colleagues of the UNESCO chairs in Brazil, Portugal, and Japan, which are in place today, but maybe also some others of you in being in the audience listening to our presentation. That's from my side. Thank you. Obrigado. Any questions? Please ask. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Alexander. It was a great presentation. And I like very much your point when you said the link of the water consumption to the lithium consumption in Europe. And because we're thinking of mining, we're thinking on soil moving, but my point, I never really thought about the water problem. In particular, if you're talking on a desert, like the Atacama Desert, it becomes a tricky issue. So again, this was a very good overview on how things are linked together. Natural things, human needs, consumption, what we all call sustainable, the sustainability of issues, and how all this works together. So I think we got this morning an excellent presentation of all these different ways of thinking, the different ways of also where you implementing your chairs. I hope that Hiroyuki Matsuda is still on board. No, is he still on board? The other professor, or well, again, my question, we still have some time left. Thanks, Alexander, for being still available. Any questions from the floor? Any remarks? It's quite silent, okay. Yeah, you know, Alexander, of course, and also Helena and Luis, this is all part, in a way, of COP30, climate change. And maybe, I don't know, President Lula of Brazil said, we are talking so much always on the Amazon, but the COPs are never taking place there where we are all talking about. So it's the first time, I think, that we are really in one area where it's a big issue. And you heard from maybe also from the presentation of Luis on the state of protection of the Amazon, that is not that much threatened as other areas in the world. So we still need to think about, in a way, how to improve the sustainability. And I think with these 4 different approaches that we have in these 4 UNESCO chairs, it would, for me, make a lot of sense to see of elaborating a joint research topic that could lead us to a joint project that, as we all know, the money is the nerve of the war. We need some funding for this. And I think we had a great opportunity to see how these different approaches come together. So the next step would be, in my point of view, thinking about an idea and maybe having another meeting next year. Why not in Heidelberg? Just to say it, to concretize this, the project, the idea, and the feasibility. We will certainly bring out of this meeting and this afternoon session and other sessions 1 volume of this book on blue carbon. But we should think about other possibilities. It's an open series. We have now 6 books in pipeline, all dealing with blue carbon, but from very, very different aspects. So there's space for a lot of things. Alexander, you have a comment, or Helena, or Luis?
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander, for your presentation. I was impressed with all these initiatives that you have all around the world. And after Luis also showing us, it's not that we are not aware of it, but the relevance of Amazon is really, it's very impressive. Every time different perspectives, but it's always, this strong perception that we are not doing enough. In many ways, and it's really, and being here and in having the notion of this center that for Amazon studies that has been working for decades, and I was thinking that somehow we are missing it. Why are we not working with this Center for Amazon Studies and using, the kind of initiatives we have, we could actually put them together. And I was thinking that this could be, I just freely, I didn't really think hard, but we should do something, in fact, on this, together with Luis, with this Center of Amazon Studies. Of course, we have these training programs. Miguel was saying that we could eventually plan together some training program or some Erasmus Mundus or something like that. And I was thinking that we could eventually have a part of this. We could have I don't know if it's a field school or something that could engage us here. Like a week of perspectives, discussion, debate, workshops, whatever in the, different perspectives on the Amazon, and somehow bringing also, using the complementary expertise that we have and different perspective knowledges, and really, even eventually even organizing annually, an event on the Amazon, and really bringing the attention of our networks, and really something that could, for example, the title you've given the relevance of biosphere reserves, or the UNESCO biosphere reserves, and having an annual initiative connected to this Amazon Center, and because clearly something is missing. This is an amazing, it is a unique spot. We have a biosphere reserve inside the Amazon.
Yep.
and so we are missing it. I mean, you know, in all these different perspectives, and this is the spot. This is, I mean, this is the critical. And on the other hand, there was also, I mean, following what Luis also presented us, these tropical forests from Southeast Asia, this combination, I mean, this trilateral agreement that was launched a few years ago, that is wonderful. And I was thinking, I mean, the Congo Basin, again, we have this relationship with Angola, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Congo Basin, I mean, that Southeast, I mean, why not? I mean, this is also something that we should support somehow, because it's still the issue, you know, the tropical forest. I mean, how to really preserve, and they managed to establish this even before it was launched by the politicians. Yep. So this is again another topic that I think we could work on and see if it's possible to bring our network of UNESCO chairs and really some added value to this, because we cannot lose the chance of having something. I don't know exactly what, but I think that we should proceed and really pursue this this collaboration somehow. I don't know.
Thank you. Luis, some final words?
Well, I think that it's very, 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 very important to strengthen these 4 shares. And I think one of our strong things is that we are not too many. But when it's too big, then we don't know what is doing each one, what is the contribution of each one. I think we should grow somehow, but still we need to strengthen our cooperation within us. And so we know exactly what that each one doing and implement some programs together. Then we can aggregate other ones. Definitely there are people around the world, your idea in UNESCO, for example, and these meetings in Switzerland, these meetings in other parts of the world, that the idea of putting together the shares that somehow relates with the biosphere reserves. There are several, there are in Canada, in Russia, in other parts of the world. Now we have a concrete thing, these 4 shares. I think that this is the whole possibility of growing in the sense of our works without necessarily putting together yet other shares. But in the future, we will do that. I think because we need to expand these things in different parts of the world. The perspectives are nice, but of course we need to work hard to challenge, so to face the challenges, and of course get money, because we must have, and the difficulties are extremely hard. I mean, the experience I had with this agreement with Indonesia, and there was a lot of actually work and understanding and effort. But when we start putting some actions, there are the difficulties start, like language, for example, like travel, so huge distances. Like, for example, we try to implement the exchanges with some institutions in Indonesia. Well, how we discussed the possibility of exchanging students, but bring people to study here in our program, for example. But here is taught in Portuguese. These people speak French, or they speak English, or speak, and that was very hard and very costly, extremely distant. But these are challenges that we have to face. If we want to do something, we have to find the ways of working together. So this is very important. I think the idea of having a meeting more some like a workshop or something to get a program or something, that would be very nice. In any way, say here or in Portugal, Germany, or Japan, that's okay. But I think that we should continue working on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Luis. Alexander, one final word?
Yeah, don't put pressure on me for final words. I just want to mention something.
No.
First of all, I want to pick up what you mentioned, Miguel. So you're all warmly welcome to Heidelberg for next year to sit together, because my life learning is meet once and forget, meet twice and remember, meet 3 times and cooperate. And we have met now several times already, virtually, but not physically. And this is the next step to do. And
Exactly.
if I look to the profiles of our UNESCO chairs, they are very complementary, even if we are all focusing on biosphere reserves or also on biosphere reserves. So I think we could find something where everyone can put his specific expertise on the specific field in a common proposal. We just should find an idea, a topic which is relevant for biosphere reserves, and where we can all contribute on the background of our own profiles. And I think we will find something. I would have already some draft ideas in mind what can be our topics. But let's sit together next year. And as I said, kind invitation to come to Heidelberg and to make it concrete. And I think, you know, we have some many strategical advantages. The one already mentioned by Louis, we are not too much. If it's too much, it gets too crowdy. And the cake doesn't get too big at the end for each one. The other one is we are spread around the world, from Brazil to Japan via Europe. We are covering different cultures, different, let's say, regions. That's also a benefit. And we are covering with the biosphere reserves and the MAP program, the most renowned program of UNESCO, even more than the World Heritage, which is more famous. But the more renowned is the MAP program. And if we link it to some specific things like forests or climate change, I think we could even look for some fundings from something like Mitsubishi Foundation or Bill Gates Foundation, something which normally just fund big projects. But I think we should also think, not thinking too small. Sometimes if you think too small, you don't get funding. You have to think in the right size, in the right scope. So that's my words. Thank you.
If we organize something in Heidelberg, if we organize something in Heidelberg involving the UNESCO chairs, which I fully support, and I think it's a very nice idea, I would probably say, if it's possible, and as I'm expecting to have Luis with us, if we could have, like a parallel event, something bringing this trilateral agreement on forests, I think this could be really fabulous. I mean, bringing, some colleagues from Congo, some colleagues from Southeast Asia, that would be really great. If we could have it, even if it's, one day dedicated to these specific, memorandum that you have established, this would be really great, I think.
Thank you very much, Helena. You just mentioned it. I mean, this South-South cooperation project, we have the contacts are still there. Congo is ERAIF, Indonesia is LIPI, here Brazil is Naea. Yeah. Perfect. I think this was a very great conclusion from your side. Thank you very much. We are running a little bit out of time now. So let me just thank again all the participants, but first of all, the university, the UPFA, for making all this available, in particular Naea and its director, Armin Mattis, and of course, Luis Aragón, who is the motor of these activities. All the speakers that participated, present here and online. I hope that Hiroyuki is still listening to us. And of course, thank you very much for the technical team to make all this available here. I know with online participations, it's not always very easy. Also the team here, support team, thank you very much. Very nice. I enjoyed the coffee, by the way, very good. And of course, ZMT for funding, making available for the field trip tomorrow. I think they made a very good contribution, and we have these meetings in parallel. So thank you to all of you. We meet again here, 14 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're freezing over. We meet in the fridge. Here is colder than in Germany.
Oh, wow. Okay, so warm you up and lunch.
Okay, then.
Have a good field trip. Take care. Have a good field trip. Ciao, ciao.
The topics we have on the event.
Okay. Oh. The speakers, come here, please. Photo. Come here for a photo. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Los que despegaron por internet ya se fueron. Toca el internet. ¿Quién? ¿Nosotros nomás o todo el mundo? Ah, entonces la culpa tiene para allá por todo el mundo.
Very clever. Oh, we have a pic. Ah, but we don't have the beautiful
Come in the middle.
image of the,
Please.
but we don't have the nice view, I mean, that we have.
Oh, well, but at least we have a good photo. Very good.
Just for
For the picture.
Yeah, for the picture. Oh, yeah. I will take the back. Sure. Oh, we got a nice t-shirt. Good. Oh, I leave this here.
Yeah.
Mhm.